The all-new Scalpel is a podium-chasing, hard-charging, straight-up thriller of a cross-country machine. With 120 millimeters of our advanced flex pivot suspension, progressive geometry, and rowdy-ready XC spec, Scalpel lets you accelerate where others hesitate, grip where others slip, and overtake where others brake. Punch your ticket, clip in, and get ready for a whole new level of fast.
Welcome to the Inside Line with Tread Media. It's the first of a series of podcasts that we are going to be delivering to the South African mountain bike market. Tread Media started as a magazine in 2009, and it has evolved over the years as the mountain bike industry has evolved and as well as media has evolved. And here we are recording a podcast and looking forward to some good engagement with the South African mountain bike and gravel community. I've got with me Joe Badenhorst, who's been with the brand since it started. Joe is going to be covering a lot of women-specific content, but she's also got great knowledge and experience with all mountain biking. So looking forward to having Joe's insights and guests. And then we've got Cade Badenhorst, who is also a member of the family. He's obviously been in the brand since it started as well, but wasn't aware of it.
By default.
By default. And he is going to be focusing more specifically on the youth and the gravity content. So, yeah, we're looking forward to delivering a nice wide range of content for the South African mountain biking community. And, we're looking forward to having fun as well.
Yeah, I think it's something that's possibly missing in the industry from a media aspect. I mean, we traditionally come from a print media background. But yeah, we've got to keep up with the times. So here we are doing a podcast.
That's the main thing. Every event we go to, we always get introduced as Trade Magazine. Now it's time to make people understand that it's not a magazine anymore. It's
our stamp.
It's a media company.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, media has changed so much over the years, and it's quite cool to be able to adapt with it. It's a little bit intimidating at times for the older members of the Tread community here, but Cade's a great guide for us. He understands the podcast sort of framework really well, and we appreciate his guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Okay, so how long have you been in mountain biking, Sean?
So I've been in mountain biking for a long, long time. I started mountain biking in 1991. And it was when mountain biking was still new in South Africa, very new. In fact, it was even before the internet, so it was a long, long time ago. I enjoyed mountain biking because I was a road cyclist before that, and also a BMX racer as a kid. So it was a nice combination for me. And so I'm looking forward to, just continuing our journey as Tread Media. We've been in the industry for longer. I've certainly been in the industry, and so has Joe, for longer than the last 16 years with Tread Media, with other media brands. And so looking forward to delivering a lot of our experience and insights and introducing a lot of South African mountain biking people and riders to the community.
And why mountain biking? How did we gravitate to mountain biking and not triathlon or road?
So I think mountain biking is fun. And, it's not that the others are not fun. It's just that mountain biking really caught on in the early 2000s. And I think that, it started to dominate the industry. And, I worked at Bicycling Magazine for a while, which is very road dominant in the content initially in the early 2000s. But once the Cape Epic and a whole bunch of other events like Sawani to Sea had really picked up, it changed the landscape, and the bulk of the endurance market became mountain bikers. So I enjoy mountain biking because it's interesting. There's never really a dull moment. I like single track riding and being challenged a lot of the time. So, yeah.
And before bicycling, you worked for Ride Magazine, don't forget.
Yes, I was with Ride Magazine initially.
And before that, Tour Magazine, which lasted a very short amount of time, like a couple months.
So I have a long history in the cycling media, but I also have a long love affair with mountain biking, which has never really changed. I've been loving mountain biking ever since my first ride in 1991, and I'm always looking for something fresh and new places to ride and new bikes to ride, and enjoy my role in the media.
Oh, and I think it's definitely your love, or what I've seen, your love has gone through stages, or your passion for mountain biking. And the most recent stage has, sort of shifted from enduro riding with your son when he's sort of not going out of your league, just getting a little bit faster and different sort of goals. It's definitely going back into the endurance and social side of riding. That I mean, that's just what I've seen from you.
Yeah,
and
I think the last few years I've really tackled the enduro scene partly because I wanted to understand it, and partly because I think it's an awesome discipline, and partly because you, Cade, were getting into it, and it was a nice way to ride with you and experience mountain biking with you. And but you've reached a point now where you're really settled in the scene.
And you outride your dad.
And you outride me. And and the other thing is that it requires taking some risks, and I'm not really taking the risks. I'm not prepared to take too many risks in the racing. So while I enjoy it, I do enjoy longer distance racing. I like the fitness that I have at the moment of doing some longer rides, and I feel like I just feel like maybe it's time to get a little bit back into the stage racing and marathon racing, which is still the bulk of the market, just to reconnect with that segment.
Yeah.
Sure beans.
And you, Joanne, you've been in mountain biking as long as I have, actually.
Pretty much. So we've had a shared love affair with mountain biking and cycling, although I probably only got into it because of you. Before that, I mean, I've always been sporty. That's never been, it's not foreign for me to be sporty. But for me, mountain biking started probably around 91 as well. Probably one of your bikes. Way too big for me. Riding way above my skill level. But I survived. I'm here to tell the tale. I never had any broken bones back then. I've only had them now, lately.
Pushing
like
too hard.
Late 40s and 50s, I've broken all my bones. Anyway, pushing the limits, you're right. Trying too hard. But for me, mountain biking, it's just that adrenaline. I really, really enjoy that adrenaline of going down a hill and the wind in my face, and nowhere near as fast as you guys and nowhere near as technical, but still, for my level and my riding, it just makes me feel like a kid again. And the social and the community.
That's why you're still in it. That's why it's kept you in.
I really enjoy the community, the mountain bike community here in South Africa. And globally, I think. I've not ridden with many people globally, but what I see on Instagram, etc., and other podcasts.
One big happy family, generally.
Yeah. And everyone's chilled. Everyone's there for the same vibe.
Yeah.
Mountain bikers definitely seem a little less highly strung than other disciplines of racing, and I think it's cool to be in that crowd.
I think it has changed a bit though. That chilled vibe, especially at the high end racing.
Yeah,
it's become very serious because there's a lot of brands and a lot of companies putting a lot of money into the racing. So the chilled vibe at the racing at the high level is definitely
because it's not people's careers. I mean, they.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really, you can't feel like everyone's mates when it's your career sort of is on the line, especially when the XCO races.
I mean, the free riders still have that energy, but even the downhill racing it's become really serious.
Yeah, it has. There's a community element to it, but it does get very individual and specific when it comes to racing, and I guess that's how all sport is at the professional level. And but overall, it's still a very cool community to be a part of.
100%. Cade.
Sure. Well, I mean, my parents, I was kind of forced into it. No, I'm joking.
Forced.
No, I've always been around mountain biking, and I think one of the first times that I remember sort of really appreciating the sport was, what was it, 2004? No, I wasn't born then.
No. Yeah, maybe.
No,
In a different format.
When was it? It was the Peter Maritzburg World Champs. Or was it World Champs?
Oh yes, it was probably a World Cup in 2009.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just remember
been
seeing
about
photos.
3,
Yeah. I remember that being, I mean, one of the coolest things, you know, going out there, just walking around Peter Maritzburg by myself almost. And, you know.
I promise you he wasn't by himself. He was 3. He was with his older brother, who was...
Well, who was also a bit reckless.
12.
And yeah, it's just, I sort of, you know, was more into rugby for a while. And then sort of 2019 hit, and we did a trip to Durban, and I was lucky enough to ride a really nice sort of enduro type bike, and that sort of, you know, got me enjoying the rush of adrenaline of, you know, hitting trails and then also climbing. I remember really enjoying climbing past people. It's and getting the, you know, sort of not love, sort of respect from the older guys, saying, "Oh, geez, here's this kid climbing away from me on the hill," which I still enjoy to this day. And yeah,
I don't have that feeling. I don't climb past anyone.
But you drop them on the downhill. So that it's the same feeling. Trust me. Yeah, I love it when Mom gets passes people on the downhills and they like do a bit of a double take. It's awesome. And then yeah, I've just really like what was it, 2020 when we first started enduro racing.
Well, it was a bit after, because 2020 was the lockdown and there was no racing, but I think it was 2021 we started
properly
to do enduro racing, mostly in Mpumalanga, and then spread it around a bit.
But it was that lockdown, actually. You played in the back garden on a bike for hours because there was nothing else.
Time on my bike, and it's one of the main things I tell people when they, you know, ask me how did you get those skills. Yeah, I just tell them practice. I mean, that's all I did. I rode in the garden up and down. Constantly.
And we don't have a massive garden, but it's big enough to ride the bike in a few circles.
It was about having fun on a bike and learning new things, new tricks, and being able to become better and better at them. And I think the fun factor is key there. And you know, as long as you can keep that going, I think it'll always be fun.
Yeah, and then I mean, I did a bit of a, what was it, almost like a challenge called Mind the Gap, where I learned how to jump, and we got a few people teaching me. It was Barry Krause. I remember he sort of sparked the joy in mountain biking, and still awesome to ride with him to this day. And yeah, I just fell in love with enduro when we started. I got really into it. Still super into it, so keen for the season coming up. And yeah, I think that's it.
Tell us a bit about that Mind the Gap challenge that you set yourself.
It was so, well, there's a road gap at Grootfontein, mountain bike park in Pretoria East, and I remember going there for the first time and being like, "Oh, I really want to do this. This looks so cool."
How long is the gap about?
14 meters, I think.
I think it's a bit less. It's about 11 meters.
I think 11 meters, but to the sweet spot on the land, it's about 14.
Maybe we should insert the link or the clip so people can have a look at it. Yes, I think we need to insert it.
Editing was not great. It's still not great, but okay,
it's cool.
Yeah, I think it's a nice sort of start into the sort of where I sort of joined the media company. Sort of joined in with everything.
Mm. And so when you eventually did this gap, who towed you in? I mean, was it Barry who was helping you, or was it someone else?
Yeah, so Barry, we I think we'd planned a few times to go with Barry, but I mean, I think I ended up not doing it. I backed out a few times. And then one day we were there and James Morland was teaching skills to a group of ladies, I think. And he was like, "Oh, are you keen to do it today?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it." And I did a roll-in or two, didn't feel it. And then eventually I was like, "Oh, I'm tired of this. Let's just do it." We hit it and it was just one of the best feelings ever.
With the audience of ladies.
With the audience of middle-aged women. But yeah, I think that was actually one of the, I think it was something that I could push myself towards and, sort of like a goal. And I've kept, giving myself goals. And, I haven't always achieved the goals that I've put out for myself, but I'm still setting myself goals and still pushing.
Good stuff.
Thanks to you guys.
So January 2025, lots to look forward to this year from a racing perspective. South Africa has a hell of a busy calendar, and we've got some really good international races, which is awesome. I mean, to have Candice Lill among the top racers in the world, it's just probably a matter of time before she wins a World Cup or a World Champs.
She still be screaming.
Yeah, and
that's going to be crazy.
And I mean, Alan Heatherley, world champion, world number one. It really makes me proud to be a South African and support these incredible races. And that's just two of them.
There's also Matt Beers. There's obviously Greg's just retired, but there's some up and comers.
Yeah. So Matt Beers obviously hugely successful as an endurance racer, and 3 Cape Epics, and possibly going for a 4th this year. It'll be great if he can. It's just it's a great time for South African mountain bike racing.
Yeah.
And from a gravity perspective, I'm not sure, we always shouted for Greg for pretty much your whole life, Cade.
Yeah, that's all I've known. All I've known is
Greg. What are we going to shout for now? Really.
It's crazy.
So what are we going to do? Are we going to watch the World Cups? And, I don't know, will there be some South Africans there, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. There's Rory Kirk, who's still, he's still pushing it. He looks like he's got himself a bit of a base out there in the UK, and I think he's going to keep pushing it.
Teo Erlingson's always exciting to watch.
Yeah. Also, you never know what he's going to do, but I think he'll.
If he can focus, he's got so much talent. Yeah. So much talent.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy, but he also likes to party. So
Yeah, so it's I think there's a lot to look forward to from the elite athlete level. But, regular South Africans have got loads of events. There's a very full stage race calendar. We've got some of the best organized stage races in the world. Loads of them, actually. And we're really fortunate. And good weather year-round, pretty much. Not too... Well, obviously it gets a bit cold in the winter, but it's certainly not like Europe and North America where it's thick snow and it's impossible to ride. So.
Don't forget the Trailseeker series.
Yeah, that's probably still the foundation of the endurance scene in South Africa. Those marathons and half marathons and even the fun race, that just gets a lot of new people into the sport.
They've been going forever.
And I see they've also introduced a R1 million incentive if you can win all 6 of the...
That's crazy. I'm like, should I try?
Anyone can do that? Oof.
Oh, I think it'll be hard. What makes it hard is that the first round is in January in Banhoek, and it's usually attracts a whole bunch of the international races.
Yeah.
Who aren't here the rest of the year. So whoever wins the first one.
Well, maybe there'll be some serious talks going on.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes.
It's like, yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for the South Africans to win that first race. So if the South African wins that first race, then the pressure's on to try and win the race.
Is it just male, or is it male and female? That
it didn't actually. The press release didn't actually say, but I'm assuming it'll be male and female because
it must be.
It's an equal prize money.
So that makes it. For the woman, maybe.
Yeah, then there's a chance because I don't think all the women. Yeah, I suppose there's some international women at the race.
Alexander Keller won it last year. She's, so she's not going to be here for the whole series. So it should be an interesting series again. I think they do a fantastic event. They cater for the whole family. And Ford's been a great sponsor. I think added lots of value. And then there's the gravel the growth of gravel, which is something to look forward to.
That's exploding. I mean, with the new events that are all coming, also big prize money, proper organization.
Yeah,
proper.
I mean, there's going to be 2 stage races coming up, 2 international stage races. One obviously organized by Kevin Vermaak, who created the Cape Epic, the Gravel Burn, that'll happen next year, and then there's the dryland organized event called the Garden Red Giro, which I believe is going to be in April 2026. So
Okay, so Burn isn't this year.
No, Burn is this year.
Burn is this year.
Okay.
Yeah. Gravel Burn is this year in October.
Okay.
They've just announced $150,000 prize money from a sponsor yet to be named, which is 2.7 million rand.
Wow.
It's big. So
I'm so keen to find out who that sponsor is. Like,
is it anonymous or they tell us?
no, they're going to announce the sponsor in the middle of February, and I'm assuming it's because it's a corporate that needs to, most corporates have their end of the financial year end of February, so they're probably waiting a little bit longer.
Do you reckon it's someone that's already been in the sport and that have?
I don't know. I think it could be a new sponsor. It could be a new sponsor.
Well, then why would they be so secretive? I suppose.
maybe it's not finalized. Maybe that's it's not been signed on the dotted line yet.
But regardless, it's going to be an interesting event because it's it's going to that prize money is going to attract top road and mountain bike races from around the world, as well as all the regular gravel guys and women. So I think it's going to be fantastic, and it really does elevate South Africa as a gravel racing country.
And it's not something I've really been drawn to, doing gravel. I personally, I really enjoy Singletrack, but that race, I don't know what it is, and I don't know if it's just the way Kevin and his team market it, but there's just something about it. I think, it could actually be a cool event to do.
Yeah, I think what they've done is they've made it a little bit different. The race villages are a bit different from the more traditional mountain bike stage race villages. So the experience will be a bit different in that regard, but it'll still be a premium experience. So
But on that, I don't know if you saw that Berg&Bush are rejigging their campsites. They're giving you an option of doing like the lager.
Oh, okay, interesting.
With your teammates or your friends or
what's that?
Your community.
So instead of just putting tents along the riverbank
in rows,
where you just get allocated a tent and you just end up next to whoever.
Oh, okay.
There'll be an opportunity, is it, to have a cluster of tents?
Yeah, so a cluster. So they're all around their own little fire pit.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's all around.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm almost sure they got the idea from Gravel Burn. Yeah.
I think things need to, it's nice for these events to refresh ideas every now and then. I mean, Sani to see did a great event last year with their 20th edition. They changed things up a bit, and I think it made a difference. You got to keep people wanting to come back. Yeah. It's definitely not a given that people are going to return year after year after year, especially with such choice nowadays.
Yeah, we're very fortunate.
Yeah, I mean, we did Sani. Oh, it was my first Sani, and I remember this because we did 2 stage races. We did Sani, and then we did Waterberg Traverse, which is at Summer Place. And I remember saying to my coach, "No more marathon for a while," but I'm sort of getting a little bit of an itch again, So just remembering Sani was a joy. I really, really enjoyed Sani. Just the vibe and also the trails. The trails were really cool.
Yeah, really nice and flowy. And also, it's important that stage races appeal to the younger generation, because at some point, the older guys aren't going to be there anymore. My generation, they'll have to have a lot of e-bike categories at some point. But they do need to appeal to the younger market, and I guess it's a cost thing. It's very difficult for someone in their 20s perhaps to do a stage race from a cost perspective. But you still want to attract that you want people to be intrigued.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's where Waterberg Traverse will come in quite handy, because I mean, I'm not sure the entry fees, but it's not too far from Joburg. Obviously, I'm speaking for the Gauteng people, I think it's not too far of a trip for parents to take their kids, and obviously kids can't enter at the moment. What is it?
Well, you can, the shorter ones.
So the shorter
So
one,
they've with Waterberg Traverse, they've got the shorter event.
So I think if more parents can get their kids into that, especially if they want their kids to carry on with, or join them in marathon one day,
experience stage racing.
Yeah, so I think it needs to be shorter distances because there's a limit for juniors and younger.
But Berg&Bush have got as well shorter distances. The 2 day is perfect as well.
So,
and they've got what's their category called for the young ones?
I actually don't know. Is it Bush Baby?
Bush Baby, that's it. Yeah.
So great to see events adapting, and future-proofing, I suppose, if you want to call it that. So a really cool calendar to look forward to. A lot of the Cycling South Africa SA Cup events and SA Champs are all in the first half of the year, which really does condense that for the elite riders, essentially riders that are in junior and elite level, because they are competing for points to be selected to represent the country at the World Champs. So they kind of have to try and get those events all out the way, all the point scoring events all out the way by June, to announce a team in July, because the World Champs are normally August.
And I think it has pros and cons, obviously, to condensing it. Hopefully, get it out the way, so people can be on form for a shorter period. So hopefully they achieve their goals.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's never going to suit everybody, but I think there's got to be some kind of a system in place. And I think Cycling South Africa, from a mountain biking perspective, have certainly improved their organization of how the season goes. And last year there was obviously a lot of controversy around the Gravity team selection, or the very small team that ended up being selected.
Yeah,
and I feel like there's been a bit of a compromise made, and we'll go into this in another episode, because it does deserve a lot of attention. But I think
it's quite a hot topic.
Yeah, it's a hot topic, and gravity is a small category in this country. There's
tiny.
If there's 1,000 people that do downhill and enduro, it's a lot. But it's a highly committed mountain biker. They ride all year round. They're a year-round consumer. They're a very important part of the industry. So it's definitely worth nurturing that category.
Yeah, and I think, as you're saying about the condensing of the whole race calendar, I think it's definitely, it'll catch. People get used to it, and people now, after this whole thing that went on, I think people are going to be a bit more awake and aware of when the races are and when they can get points. But yeah, I personally like the condensing of it.
Yeah, I think it can be a challenge if you're in that mix from a cost perspective, because you have to travel.
Oh, it's like boom,
February, March, April, May.
Yeah, and then there's the elite riders that still have to go overseas.
Yeah,
so it's quite a
yeah. They have to make those decisions.
Yeah,
they've got to pick their battlefields.
Yeah,
carefully.
Yeah, I think it's but overall, I think it's the organization, having been involved in mountain biking and cycling for more than 30 years, I can tell you, and you'll know this as well, that it's never been this well organized, the mountain biking administration of the sport. So we'll get somebody in from Mountain Biking South Africa to have a chat at some point as well.
For sure.
I think it'll be great to get some insight and ask some hard questions.
Yeah.
Cool beans. So
that's hard.
2025. Looking forward.
Yeah.
Lots to look forward to. I'm looking forward to screaming at the TV, whoever it is for, and screaming for you guys, racing. Well, you probably won't do as much enduro, but we'll be screaming for you, Cade.
Let's see how this season goes for me.
Into elite, let's see. Our featured product for this episode of Inside Line is the Cannondale Scalpel. It was first designed and launched in 2002. And every few years, Cannondale's engineers use whatever the latest technology is to update the design. The latest one, the latest scalper was launched last year in March, and it is an impressive machine. It is a cross-country race bike, obviously, and ideal for marathon racing too. It has a bit more travel than the previous edition, 120 mils front and rear, more progressive geometry. Still has the flex pivot suspension system, which seems to work really well. Comes with a lefty fork on the top models, but RockShox fork options on the lower models. It has more progressive geometry, as I said, so more stable on the descents and a little bit more nimble on the climbs. And it has size customization on the chainstays, which makes it a bit more of a balanced bike, no matter how tall you are.
So doesn't it also have space for 2 bottles?
Yes, 2 bottle cages.
Sure.
Which is,
Yeah. It's ideal for the South African mountain biker, because with these hot marathon stage races as well as training.
Yeah, especially this time of the year, but all throughout the year, actually. Our conditions aren't that cold, and ideal to be able to carry 2 bottles on your lightweight race bike. Candice Lill had a breakout year on this bike last year, which is pretty impressive. She actually told us in an interview when we asked her about the new Scalpel, she said, "I'm a lot more comfortable and confident descending on the new Scalpel. The wheelbase is longer and the head tube angle is slacker. Going down steep descents honestly feels like night and day compared to before." Very cool.
Yeah, awesome.
And it wasn't just Candice that had a good year on the bike.
Alan had a great year. I mean, one of probably his best year yet.
Definitely his best year.
With bronze at the Olympics, world champ, second in short track, world champ, third.
I think he was third, Charlie Aldridge was second. Yeah.
Also on that bike.
Yeah, so impressive year on the Scalpel. I mean, Alan also, he finished the year as the world's number 1 ranked racer, which is incredible. And Candice, the world's number 2 ranked racer. So pretty impressive year for the Cannondale Scalpel.
In terms of men ranking and women ranking.
Women
not
effectively,
yeah.
Yeah, it also, it's not just a cross-country race bike. Obviously, they performed really well in cross-country races, but it's not just a cross-country race bike.
Yeah, it's also its first place in the women's and in the men's for marathon world champs, right?
Yeah.
Yes, something incredible.
Yeah, I think it was Simon Andreasen and Mona Mittenwalner. They were the top racers at the world champs in the marathon, and on a really tough course. So it just shows you how balanced that bike is.
Oh.
In South Africa, the top of the range is the Lab 71, which is actually a well-priced 219,995. Really, it's the top of the range spec on everything. And then the model down is the Scalpel 1, which also has SRAM electronic shifting, DT Swiss carbon wheels, and actually only sells for 159.95. So
it's really, really good for South African high-end bikes.
Yeah, I mean, Cannondale did make an effort in a decision last year to drop their pricing, and it's pretty impressive pricing for a lot of bike for that buck. So, if you want to find out more about the Cannondale Scalpel, check out cannondale.com. So, speaking of hard, in terms of what were we saying was hard? I can't remember. Anyway, what I can tell you,
decisions. They've got to make hard decisions.
Hard decisions.
Pick their battlefields.
What I can tell you is that last year was a hard year for the cycling industry, both in South Africa and internationally. And it kind of started probably late 2022 with an oversupply of product, and it's continued into 2023 and last year. And brands in the industry have had to cut staff, which has been a little upsetting, I guess. And
it's been, the difficulties that the industry's been going through is spread far and wide. It's not just oversupply. It's affected media as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I think it's there's some signs internationally and locally of recovery. So hopefully 2025 is going to be a better year for the industry. But I think a lot of brands really had to tighten their belts in this past year. Global brands. I mean, it's unusual to see. It's almost unsettling to see brands like Giant, having to make such big cuts and decisions. And it's not just, some of the brands had a lot more public changes made, whereas a lot of them had to do it quietly.
Oh, it was,
I
we don't
think,
even know. I don't even think we know half.
Yeah, but I mean,
What the industry's gone
just
through.
knowing what I know that Scott, Specialized, and Trek in South Africa all had a trimming down process in the past year. To varying degrees. So these are some of the biggest brands in the world, and but the good thing is people are still riding bicycles, and I guess that's what it's got to come down to, is that people are riding, people are racing, and from a media perspective, last year events were strong. We had a lot of advertising from events, and it was great to see events starting to recover after the COVID break. That really affected a lot of them.
Yeah.
But good to see marathons growing again to over 2,000 riders, in some parts of the country, and I think that's still the backbone of the sport.
Yeah,
we've already discussed gravel as a growth category in the sport. Interestingly, internationally, gravel falls under UCI road cycling, and in South Africa it falls under mountain biking. So.
Well, I think because of the South African roads, there's definitely more mountain biking than road.
It's a little more rugged.
Yeah, in fact, there's a very small road cycling scene in South Africa, which is a bit sad. But, the mountain bike scene is quite robust, and I think that's pretty much why they've put it under mountain biking. But we can ask, it is interesting that it's different in South Africa to global. But other growth areas which I'm excited about are, enduro, e-bikes, youth, women. These are all sections of the market that are growing. And, from a youth perspective, we've seen cross-country is a really strong discipline. Adding in short track racing last year has made it even stronger. So looking forward to more and more youngsters. And a lot of events have a fun race, which is usually 20 Ks, and then a half marathon, which is about under 60 Ks certainly, but around about 40 odd Ks, which is what a lot of the junior and youth category riders race.
Yeah, and I think with the sort of social media part of it, those cross-country riders sort of see the enduro and free ride type of scene, and they're like, oh, I want to ride some jumps and, have a bit of fun.
Does look a bit cooler.
Yeah, and less lycra.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think, in fact, from an enduro perspective, cross-country races are definitely if you're a good cross-country racer with skill, you can definitely do well at enduro.
Yeah.
And the school series is bringing in a lot of riders. I mean, that Cycle Lab school series is just, it's really doing great work. So I'm hoping that grows from strength to strength. Yeah,
and I see Marant Botha, who was the guy that originally started the Spur series years ago. He's also introducing a new youth series, which we'll go into more detail in a later episode. But you can't have too many youth programs in place.
Not at all.
It's critical, and there's also development youth programs which are really strong. The pump track scene is in KZN is surprisingly.
Didn't they have a world champs there?
Yeah, they had the world champs.
And how did we not know?
We did know.
We did know. We actually covered it. There was some.
But it
was a bit of a last minute.
Nobody I knew, knew about it really.
Yeah. So pump track, but pump tracks are great. It's a bit like a basketball court. You can put a pump track. Okay, it's costly, but you can put a pump track anyway. It doesn't need a lot of space, and you need a relatively simple bike. You don't need lots of gears. There's no climbing. There's no mud. So the drivetrain is a happy drivetrain, and so that's a great place to build skill.
Just like how you and I think a lot of South African mountain bikers started cycling was with the BMX.
Yeah,
I think it's a similar sort of thing because BMX also didn't take much space.
Yeah, BMX tracks served that purpose, and BMX was a great. In the 80s and 90s, early 90s, it was very popular. So a lot of us got into racing bikes then that are still, loving riding now. So, I think as long as you fall in love with riding bikes as a youngster, and, that's what these programs are facilitating, you've hopefully got a lifelong...
And also safe trail parks,
like
Wolverspruit and what's the one in the Cape? There's a few.
Yeah, there's
Obviously, not Yonkuzuk, House End. House End has those.
Takai's got quite a nice, safe environment with some cool stuff.
So, I mean, I think the trail park's having a nice, safe area for kids to, hang out on the weekends.
Build their confidence, build their skill, have fun,
social,
build a community.
Aspect is quite a big thing. Yeah. So I think it's really cool. Wolverspray, it's such a good vibe on a Saturday morning. Yeah. I mean, it's something that I'd return to if I could every weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, Pretoria is traditionally a very strong endurance mountain biking city. Yeah. But with Wolverspruit there, with all the flow lines jumping
and Grootfontein,
it's changing, and it's fantastic. Not much in Johannesburg, unfortunately, but I think it'll get there. Yeah, there's definitely, but great that the Western Cape and KZN have some cool places as well. Like Giba Gorge is a fun place, and I know Cascades is a hell of a big monster hill to get up, but with the shuttles there, it makes a difference.
Yeah, there's been a lot of shuttles lately. I mean, when I went down there for an SA Cup, it was such a joy. Yeah. And they carried them on. I'm on the shuttle group. People are still, obviously now during the festive season, it's died down a bit.
Cannondale, which is the sponsor of the first 2 episodes of Inside Line, has teamed up with Camberley Wines, and they've created a commemorative Alan Hatherley World Champs label wine edition, and it is only 100 bottles. Each one is numbered, and Alan Hatherley has signed each one of those bottles. So if you're a Cannondale fan or an Alan Hatherley fan, you'll be quite keen to enter this competition. The way to enter it is to go to the Trade Media Instagram account and see the information on how to enter there.
So on growth as well, woman that's my little area of expertise.
Why is that?
Why? Because I was born that way.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's very encouraging. According to our annual survey, about just under 25% of the market, the mountain bike market, are female, and that's quite a big chunk. It's definitely. I don't know if it's fully catered for at this stage by in across the industry, but it's certainly pretty well catered for at events. And I think. It's good to see the growth, which you'll obviously know more about.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been a big push for women. There's a few women in the industry that are making massive efforts and inroads. In the Cape, obviously, there's a few groups I'm in touch with, the Trail Angels quite often, and they're all for just building confidence and giving women their own safe space to ride in. There's lots of groups around where women and men ride together, but for women getting into the sport, it's not necessarily the right space to get in where the guys are, unless you're super strong and super fit, and then you don't get dropped. But as soon as a woman gets dropped on a group ride, it's destroying. It's whole destroying. So that's where these women-only groups have really come in and helped and given women a safe space. So it's where women's groups have come in and given a safe space to ride and also to build a community. And I think that's for women's cycling, building the community, I think, is the key, and it's the cornerstone of the growth of women in the sport.
Yeah. So from a woman's perspective, it's great to see some corporates getting involved, and I don't know if I see there's a lot of young girls at the school series. It's important to try and keep them in the sport, and I'm sure you know more about these elements.
Yeah, that's something that's on my mind quite a lot, is how do we keep these girls in the sport? But as you say, there's quite a few corporates getting involved. I see there's a new sponsor. Well, I think it's a new sponsor, or a new sponsor that's just come back into the sport. With the South African women's pro team, Enzo.
Yes, Enzo. It's a construction.
Enzo Construction, that's it. Yeah. And then there's ABSA that have been doing quite a lot for the sport at the high end, the racing, the serious endurance riders, with the Epic. But they've also recently introduced some community rides, which I've been able to attend. I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes with the community rides, because that's filtering down and reaching more than the 10 teams or whatever it is that they are trying to get to finish an epic. So it's broadening it.
Yeah, I mean, was there over something like 70 riders at one of these women's community rides?
At the first community ride, which was held at Henops up in Gauteng. Is it Gauteng? It's just the border of northwestern Gauteng.
It's actually in Gauteng. It's kind of on the border.
I think the entrance is in northwest, but you ride into Gauteng.
70 women. And it was, they didn't have to pay entry to the park. Maybe that was an attraction. Obviously, ABSA has been seen as this big sponsor in women's cycling over the last 4 or 5 years. So people want a part of that. People want to be a part of that ABSA community, the She Untamed community. So they've built up this momentum, and they managed to get 70 ladies for one ride.
Incredible.
And the fast ladies went off and they did their 45Ks in 1.5 hours or whatever it was. No way. And I rode with the newer ladies, and I think we did 20Ks in 2 hours, which was fine, but it's giving them opportunities. And that's what ABS is starting to do now. Yeah. Outside of the Cape Epic is the She Untamed community is providing opportunities for women to get on bikes, and that's critical.
Just to wrap up, I think on this first episode, we're looking forward to bringing a lot more to the South African mountain bike and gravel market. We're going to be looking at ways of adding value. What else are we going to be doing? Are we interviewing cool people, successful people?
Yeah, and obviously with having Cade on board, he just brings a new element, a new energy, hopefully, to the brand, to keep us relevant. And I think that's critical at the moment. We all trying to run a business at the end of the day, and this is us growing our business.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's exciting that someone like Cade can bring in a new energy. We definitely want to interview some of the rising stars in the mountain bike and gravel.
No pressure, Cade. No pressure.
I think we'll get some cool youngsters. Youngsters, they're probably older than me, but youngsters. And I feel like there's a lot to learn for me. I think interviewing some people from the industry, some people from some top racers, and also some people that are on the same level as me and in the same sort of trajectory as me. Well, hopefully. But yeah, I think South African mountain bikers are the coolest people in the world. And, especially mountain bikers, but I think South African mountain bikers, they top it for me. Just the best vibe. A lot of them have some really, really good determination to become the best of the best. And what we've seen now with Alan Hatherley and Candace and, Greg a while back when he did start, I see a lot of the guys my age and a lot of the guys I ride with. I see a lot of a young Greg in them, and I do see a young Greg in me as well, maybe in a different form. But yeah, I think it's going to be really cool.
They're great role models, and I think that's we're very fortunate to have that in South Africa.
Yeah, compared to the rest of the world, we've got quite a small market. But we've got a high volume of riders that have been so successful and to look up to and be mentors. So really exciting. Looking forward to having a chat with some of them. And I suppose most of all, what we want to do on this podcast in the future is have some fun. So yeah, this has been quite a serious start to episode.
Yeah, it's just an introduction to what we are and what we're hoping to do. Not just for us, but for the MTB and gravel community and industry. We want to add value, and that's always been our ethos and our motivation is to add value to the industry, and put the industry and riders before ourselves even. So what you guys want to hear on the podcast is what we'll talk about.
Yeah, and of course questions are welcome.
Yeah,
we'll obviously comment on the YouTube, and I'm pretty sure we can put up a poll on the other platforms for people to ask questions. So I think it's it's I think it'll be quite a cool, sort of center spot for everyone to have a conversation with us and through us and with the people that we have the ability to talk to.
Yeah, exactly. And just a quick thanks to Cannondale. They're the sponsors of our first 2 episodes. So this is episode 1, and you'll be seeing all the Cannondale branding. And obviously we're doing some cool giveaways with Cannondale, and also a product feature this issue was with Cannondale. So yeah, thanks very much, Cannondale. At Trade Media, we recently launched Trade Singletrack Society, or TSS for short. Trade Singletrack Society is a membership-based community that adds value to South African mountain bikers and gravel riders. What you get as a member of Singletrack Society is access to unique and original South African editorial content. You also get discounts of up to 25% on products from our partner brands, including Biogen supplements, Cheervita clothing, Red E electronics, socks, footwear, Squirt products, and Oakley products via the Bicycle Service Company. Dryland Events is the events partner of Trade Singletrack Society, and as a member, you get 20% discount on your entry fees. To activate your membership for Singletrack Society, go to the Tread website and click on the Singletrack Society tab at the top. There are 2 options, an annual option at 980 Rand or a monthly option at 89 Rand.
Yeah, it's great to have industry support, which we've always had. I mean, as a media brand, as a magazine, I think obviously Sean's been very respected, or still is very respected in the industry. And we just want to build on that. So that's what the podcast's about.
Yeah. Super cool. Thanks for joining us. And give us your comments below. This is our first podcast. So obviously may not be so slick, but we look forward to getting more slick and engaging with you going forward.
And adding some more fun.
Thanks for joining us.
Cool. Ciao. Cheers.
The all-new Scalpel is a podium-chasing, hard-charging, straight-up thriller of a cross-country machine. With 120 millimeters of our advanced flex pivot suspension, progressive geometry, and rowdy-ready XC spec, Scalpel lets you accelerate where others hesitate, grip where others slip, and overtake where others brake. Punch your ticket, clip in, and get ready for a whole new level of fast.